Across the thesis, Mike presents impossible and contradictory data, inflates simple points with jargon, and allows hundreds of basic grammatical, typographical, and formatting errors to remain uncorrected.
In the fitness world, reputations are built on two things: results and credibility. And for more than a decade, Mike Israetel had both. A PhD in sport physiology, a co-founder of Renaissance Periodization, and one of the most recognizable science-based coaches on the internet.
Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength. I'm a former professor of exercise and sports science, competitive bodybuilder, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappler, and somewhat of a kind of fake authority on things revolving around lifting.
To many people, Mike wasn't just another fitness influencer. He was the guy who brought academia into bodybuilding. But in late 2025, that image took a serious hit, and it all started with a dissertation. Back in 2013, Mike completed his doctoral work at East Tennessee State University. The dissertation's title: The Interrelationships of Fitness Characteristics in Division I Athletes. For years, this piece of academic work sat quietly in ETSU's digital archive. It was cataloged, indexed, and publicly accessible through university databases like any other graduate research. Nobody questioned it. Nobody analyzed it. It was simply part of Mike's qualifications, part of the reason people looked at him as someone whose words carried scientific weight. But in September 2025, a researcher and content creator named Solomon Nelson published a detailed critique of that dissertation. And this wasn't your typical fitness YouTuber beef. This was a line-by-line academic breakdown, over an hour of reviewing the grammar, the data, the statistical methods, and the overall scientific contribution. And what he found was not what anyone expected. According to his analysis, the dissertation was filled with problems. Not minor things like a typo or two, but widespread grammatical errors, formatting inconsistencies, mislabeled tables, duplicated statistical values, and results that he argued simply didn't make sense. He questioned whether the work demonstrated the originality, rigor, and accuracy expected of a doctoral degree. And in the fitness world, where credibility is often the last line of defense against misinformation, this critique landed like a bomb. The video spread quickly. People who had never looked twice at academic documents were suddenly screenshotting tables, highlighting paragraphs, and debating the validity of an entire PhD. And the bigger the conversation grew, the more serious the questions became. If the dissertation really had this many issues, how did it pass? What did the committee see? And what did the university approve back in 2013? Within days, Mike's camp responded, specifically through researcher Milo Wolf, who stated that the version Solomon reviewed was an old draft, not the final dissertation submitted to ETSU. That explanation temporarily split opinions. Some people accepted it, others questioned how an early draft ended up in the university's database to begin with. But as the story developed further, even that defense would be pulled apart. And this is where the controversy stopped being a simple critique and turned into a full-fledged investigation into academic transparency, credibility, and how much trust the fitness world had placed in one man's degree. The deeper you look into Mike Israetel's presence online, the more you realize that his whole career wasn't built on hype. It was built on output. Endless hours of content, research, training logs, educational breakdowns. The man was posting like someone who genuinely enjoyed what he was talking about, not someone who was chasing relevance for the sake of it. And for years, that energy carried him. But here's the thing a lot of people don't understand. When your career is tied to extreme consistency, the moment you slow down, people assume something is wrong. Mike wasn't uploading as heavily. He wasn't appearing on every podcast. He wasn't doing the same volume of breakdowns or deep dives that people were used to. And because the fitness community is dramatic in a soap opera type of way, rumors started flying. People started asking, "Yo, did he fall off? What happened to Mike? Why isn't he everywhere like before?" Meanwhile, the reality was way simpler. Mike was dealing with life changes, responsibilities, business growth, adjusting priorities, travel, the normal cycles that come with being a human being and not an algorithm-powered content robot. Not a meltdown, not a scandal, not a cancellation, just evolution. But you know how the internet works. If someone who has been consistently eating 600 grams of protein, screaming about mesocycles, and showing textbook perfect RDLs suddenly appears less often, the audience panics. The conversation went from Mike's one of the smartest guys in the industry to his career must be ending. And you could tell he was aware of people talking because every time he came back to the mic, he would double down on clarity, precise science, evidence-based lifting, no chasing trends. It was almost like he was proving a point without saying it out loud. This is where the shift becomes interesting. Instead of competing for attention, Mike doubled down on integrity. He started doing fewer posts, but the ones he did put out were structured, dense, and actually useful. He wasn't fighting for eyeballs. He was talking to the people who genuinely cared about training. And because of that, something unexpected happened. The loud audience, the people who want drama, beef, and gotcha moments, drifted away. But his core audience, the ones who actually lift, they stayed.
What about steroids?
They're great. What? Am I allowed to say that? Jesus Christ, I'm really going to say this. Fine.
This is the phase where people online started floating the idea that his career was over.
I have severe anxiety disorder.
What this is a sign of is some form of a chronic illness. This is not good. It's not healthy. And somebody with all of these health markers combined probably shouldn't be competing. Why is Mike risking his health, risking his life in order to get up on stage? Let's see how those methods actually work, in the real world.
Thank you, Greg.
Is he, in fact, the master trainer that you believe? The master dieter? Or is he just the master baiter? Did he just work on a lobster ship like Coach Greg? And is, in fact, the master baiter?
And honestly, it shows how disconnected the fitness algorithm has become. Because Mike didn't disappear. He didn't fade. He didn't collapse. He just stopped dancing for the algorithm. He focused on the unglamorous stuff, teaching, consulting, studying, delivering longer form content. That's not what the average fitness viewer wants anymore. The culture shifted toward 20-second clips, exaggerated physiques, and trust me bro science. Mike wasn't competing in that space, so from a distance to the casual viewer, it looked like he fell off. But behind the scenes, everything pointed in the opposite direction. New projects, new research breakdowns, new work with RP, and a completely different rhythm than the hustle-heavy years he started with. His visibility changed, but his relevance didn't. Now here's where the story really starts twisting. Because for years, Mike Israetel was seen as the smart, science-backed fitness guy. People respected him for actually knowing what he was talking about. That was real. The research credentials, the coaching success, the strength background, all real. But somewhere along the line, the content started shifting. What Mike used to do was simple: educate, break down studies, give practical training advice, maybe crack a few dad jokes. But now, he's beefing on the internet like a mid-tier TikTok live seller fighting over who invented the idea of selling ring lights. You see, the real part of this is that Mike began making more aggressive reaction videos.
And the jacked scientists, those are the guys that are going to tell you, like, these are the foods that are actually good for you, these are the foods that, and almost everyone agrees. Sugar's terrible for you.
Okay, I'll just have to come out swinging. Joe Rogan, no offense at all, you're the f***ing man.
Calling out influencers for bad training techniques, fake weights, or misinformation. Nothing wrong with that. That's the fitness space. Everybody calls each other out. But the unconfirmed part, according to some viewer theories, is that Mike wasn't just reacting anymore. Some people believe he started leaning into conflict on purpose because outrage generates more views than science. These are theories, not confirmed facts, but they've been circulating for months in comment sections, Reddit threads, and even podcasts. And the change became very noticeable. He would pause someone's workout clip, give that signature confused look, and then absolutely obliterate them with the most unserious roast possible. People ate it up. The views climbed. Then the tone escalated. Instead of being the calm professor-type voice in fitness, Mike became the dude that logs in at 9 a.m. ready to swing at everybody like it's his cardio routine. And again, let me make this crystal clear. The beef's real. The rising tension, real. The claims of him doing this on purpose for the algorithm, not confirmed, just speculation from viewers.